Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Om Shanti Healing's podcast, The Spiritual Connection. My name is Jill. In this episode, we're going to talk about alignment. It's almost Thanksgiving. 2026 is right around the corner, and a lot of people have it in their minds to start to plan a resolution. What are they going to do differently to improve upon them as humans come the new year? Maybe it's a new fitness program, maybe it's a diet, maybe it's quitting a bad habit. Who knows what it could be? But there's always something that's either in their mind or something that they're intentionally planning to do come the new year for most people. And I'm hearing a lot about that in my room on my table as people share their feelings and struggles around their lives. So today we're going to be diving deep into a topic that touches every part of our being, mind, body, and spirit, and that is living in alignment with your truth. Because when you are living out of an alignment with your truth, when your actions and your environment or even your relationships don't really reflect who you truly are, your body's going to know it and your spirit's going to know it. And you will find ways to communicate this misalignment within your own system that often shines through in a not so pleasant way, kind of coming up as an illness or a chronic state of unease or nervousness or worriness or anxiety, or simply that deep feeling of being just kind of off in your system. Right. So, in this episode, we're going to explore three different topics around alignment. What does it mean to live outside of alignment in your system and how that can show up in your health and in your life? Number two is how to reconnect with your truth and find your alignment again. It might be a challenging thing, but I believe that we all can really root down and find it. And finally, how to align your career and life path with that truth. So your work becomes an extension of who you are and who your soul is and what your spirit's communicating to the universe. So let's take a deep breath here and begin a conversation. I want to talk to you first about living out of alignment and its impact on your health. So, what does it really mean to be living out of alignment? Truly, it often starts with a subtle, just unease in your mind. You may be tired because your brain is overthinking, and you may wake up with a knot in your stomach before work and a sense of, ugh, I gotta get up and do this again. There is blockages in your energy, which can make your body feel heavy because energy is not flowing quite as well as it should be. Your creativity can feel blocked and you start getting some health issues. It's headaches, blurred vision, insomnia, digestive upset are a lot of really common ones when we're not living in alignment. A couple others might be some migraines, skin flare-ups. Maybe you have some eczema that flares up on your skin or you start to get itchy. And these are just all cues that our body's trying to tell us that something's not quite right. Okay. These are not random occasions. They're signs, they're signals, that there's cues there giving you information. Our bodies are very wise messengers. And when we repress the truth and we follow a path that we think somebody else might approve of, and it just feels like we're swimming up current all the time, our bodies are eventually going to speak out to us loudly and let you know that you're not going in the right direction. And you might find yourself even expressing information to the world and saying things like, I'm just burnt out, right? Burnout is a big one. I don't even know what I want anymore is another one. And I'm doing everything I'm supposed to, but I'm really not happy. Maybe you're working in a career that is very lucrative, but it sucks your soul on a daily basis. And it's a huge drag to get up and go every day. These are signs that there's a misalignment happening. And it can happen when you've built a life built around expectations of others and the coulda, shoulda, wouldas of life that we all go through. Like, what is your role that you're in? What role should you play? What role has been stereotypically put into your system where you have to put yourself in a position, whether or not you're happy, and produce this outcome, put on this mask of this certain kind of role that you are obligating yourself to be in. Underneath it all is your truth. There's those energies of you fantasizing about what could be, what your dream job might be. Your soul's whispering to you quietly, this isn't me. There's something more that's going to be more fulfilling for me. What is that thing? Maybe you have someone that you could talk to, a therapist or a good friend. Talk it out. Share what's going on inside, and reflect on what is missing, and what do you need to feel more fulfilled, right? Maybe you stay in a job or a relationship or a lifestyle that you didn't feel was very authentic to who you really truly are, and your body is sending you signals. Maybe the busyness of a 14-hour day and a constant hustle and never seeing your kids or your spouse isn't what your body really wants, and your soul purpose and your spirit is calling out to you to slow down. Okay. That's why true healing isn't just about green juices and meditations. True healing is about alignment. Letting your inner truth guide you. Your outer world will evolve and shift in accordance to your alignment once you make a move towards it. When we do live in alignment, the nervous system relaxes. When you're speaking your truth and doing something that you really love, everything calms down. You rest better. Your brain's a little quieter. Your body feels better. Our cells respond to following our soul and following our heart. Our body seems to calm and stop fighting itself and kind of starts working with us a little bit better. And things might begin to heal for you. Maybe the digestive issues subside, the stomach pain goes away. You all of a sudden find yourself sleeping better at night. So before you seek another quick fix like a sleeping pill or an Ativan, take a moment to just kind of pause and ask yourself, like, what part of my life doesn't feel true right now? What is feeling forced? Where am I forcing myself to be someone that I'm really not in order to fit inside this box of who I'm supposed to be according to everybody else, and maybe even the box you put yourself in, because that's not an uncommon thing either. Because sometimes the most healing thing you can do is not take another supplement, right? It's to start living in the truth of who you are by asking these questions, and maybe even writing down a few questions that might be really helping you to tap into that root of why you're doing what you're doing, and self-reflect on what could be different. How could things modify according to plan? So now let's talk about how to find your alignment on a little bit deeper of a level. If you spent years living in accordance to other people's expectations or other people's fear of other people's judgment around you, finding your truth can be very confusing at first. But alignment isn't something that you have to find necessarily. It's not like outside yourself. It's something that you remember from inside who you are truly at your root. Alignment feels like peace, joy. It feels like it just flows, and your energy expands rather than contracts. And your energy is easily shared among other people without you getting completely fatigued. Here are a few ways to begin to kind of feel into that space inside of you to maybe get some better answers. So obviously, we're going to talk about stillness. We're going to talk about sitting quietly with yourself. And there are a lot of people out there that never do that. It's go, 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 and noise, noise, noise all day long. And they don't feel very good. They're fried, they're exhausted, they're burnt, they want that quiet, but for some reason they don't allow themselves to have it. So stillness Silence is always going to be my number one go-to for any sort of self-reflection of any kind. We can't really hear our truth when our lives are so loud and so busy and chaotic and confusing, and there's constant input happening. We need to create moments of stillness, whatever that looks like. If that means you're in your house or you go somewhere else outside of your house, find a place to be still and alone. Morning meditation is great if you can have that environment for you in the morning before work and kind of set the tone. A quiet walk, sitting in nature, sitting by water, sitting on rocks, trees, dirt, sand, anything that's going to be grounding you is a great way to be still, to be quiet, and to allow your soul to speak and get some self-reflection, information download. Okay. I need you to ask yourself when you're in an environment, like, what do I need to know now? Help guide me. And then listen and don't question it. And the ego is going to lead you into fear and problem solving and analyzing the answer that comes up. And if it starts to feel constricted, that's not the right answer. That means your ego is telling you the answer and not your actual heart space giving you the information. That leads us a good segue into body awareness. Number 2, your body speaks in sensations, right? We feel so much. We're all energy. When you think about a decision, that job, a relationship, a move, whatever you need to tap into, notice that body reaction. Constriction of the core and the stomach is a huge one, or pressure and tightness in the chest is another one, giving you a very clear answer that your decision is not the right one. Your body will always tell you the truth. Authentic expression of yourself is the number one way to heal everything that's going on in your life that is feeling like it's weighing you down in a really heavy way. So let's talk about number 3, authentic expression. Start expressing your truth in these small ways. Once you get the downloads and you can get an idea, speak up when something doesn't feel right and not in alignment with your new evolution. Say no when your heart says no. The more you honor your truth, the more you align with the strengths and what you really want, the closer you're going to get to getting it. Number 4 is letting go. Sometimes alignment requires release, letting go of what no longer resonates. That can be pretty scary and sometimes very intimidating. But remember, when you let go of what's false, that opens up room for what's more authentically you to move in maybe very small, subtle ways. Perhaps you can't leave your full-time job. Maybe you're the only income earner in your home. Okay, understandable. But there may be ways that you can tweak your environment at work that will make it more like who you really are. Maybe it's something like a decorations in your office or wearing a different kind of genre of clothing, or presenting yourself in small ways to your colleagues about these different things that are interesting to you. Maybe you can start a little side hustle doing what you love, or at least join some groups or workshops where you can tap into that thing that you love on occasion here and there, right? There's ways where we can be flexible and accommodating to our heart's desire and still be able to pay the bills and do what calls to us as far as our responsibilities, right? Because I know that you can't just quit a job. I totally get that. So getting creative with your smart brain is a good way to just plug in a little bit here and there if a career change is not an option. So then I want to talk about here the reflective piece about letting go, right? Once you start to invite in the newness of this cool thing that you're finally honoring, right? There's going to be a second voice inside of you that's going to be rooting you on, that's going to be aligning you in that way. So a great way to really honor that and keep it fresh and keep the momentum going is to write some stuff down. What is the journaling experience around this newness in your life? It's a really great way to make it more real feeling and just really honor what it is that you are doing in a documented kind of way. How does it make you feel? What are the changes that are coming up? Have you had any like awakening type moments? What is showing up for you that's new and feels good? Just write it down and have fun with it. So finding alignment isn't like a one-time kind of thing. It's a progressive new kind of lifestyle. It's almost a ritualistic for some of you, might be, a way to really incorporate it into your life on a regular basis. That feels really good. And every time you kind of pause and listen around this newness, it feels kind of at home in your heart. You're on the right path. So let's talk about aligning your career with the path of your truth. Now, once you start living in alignment and you're intentionally plugging in little things here and there, you feel called to make changes externally in your life. Now, we talked about new decorations, changing your clothing style, plugging in different ways to work from that space as often as you can that's internally speaking with you. So many of us might pick careers based on security and approval and, what makes sense. You got to pay the bills, you got to feed the kids, rather than what feels aligned with your soul. But the truth is, your work can be a powerful channel for your soul's expression, right? If we can get creative and plug it in different specific ways, you can find some sort of alignment where they can overlap to some degree. If you get creative enough, right? So what do you love to do when you lose track of time? So here we're going to talk about, okay, I want alignment, but what does that look like? I like to talk about and think about when I'm just totally absorbed into something, a project, a to-do or whatever, what is it that I'm doing where an hour can go by? I'm like, oh my gosh, that was a fast hour. This is one of them. My podcast is one of them. Seeing clients is another one. Gardening is another one. Playing with my animals is another one. Music is another one. So think about what are those things that you love that just makes the day fly by, in a good way. What feels deeply meaningful, even if it doesn't make sense to you on paper? And what I mean by that is like a job description or maybe a workshop that we talked about earlier. Maybe you don't want to get out there in public and be part of something in the community. Maybe you want to be more doing this at home, whatever this is, right? Maybe painting on canvas or, stained glass work or jewelry making. And it's something that you can do at home. It doesn't matter if it is a description of whatever it is that you need to write down. What you need to write down is how it makes you feel when you do that thing, right? What kind of impact do you want to make on others by really embracing this thing that makes you feel more aligned with your true self? My guess is joy, sharing, happiness, love. When you ask these questions, if there's a point in your life where alignment doesn't always mean quitting your job, it can mean bringing you truly into yourself within what you already do. So infusing more authenticity, compassion, and creativity into the present moment. Sometimes alignment whispers, and sometimes it shakes everything up a little bit. But it always leads you closer to a place that feels internally more peaceful. And when you work and your truth meet, then life starts to really flow and abundance shows up anyways. Opportunities come effortlessly. Clients book with you without you even giving it much effort. Your health improves. Relationships improve and go deeper because your entire being is no longer in an argument with itself, right? You're in flow. You are happy. You're joyful. Things are good. Know that alignment is not perfection, folks. It's a matter of presence. It's a matter of listening. It's being brave enough to follow the voice that's inside of you that's been whispering for a long time. Even when the path ahead is uncertain, there's modifications, there's adaptations that can come to you that will allow you to some degree line up with that true, authentic piece of you. Your body and your heart and your intuitiveness are all guiding you to that place if you allow yourself to listen. Joining me for this episode of Om Shanti Healing, Spiritual Connection. If this message resonates with you, share with someone that may need a reminder to come back into alignment too. Until next time, take care of your body, trust your soul, and live from your truth. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Bye-bye.